you ever have a moment where a simple bank transfer makes you question reality? Well, I did. Right, the other day, I was waiting 5 days for money to clear, and I thought, hold on, why is this still a thing? Right, that little frustration, it sent me tumbling down a rabbit hole, and I stumbled upon something big. A quiet crypto project that might just be rewiring and rewriting the entire rules of finance behind everyone's backs. So, picture this. I'm in my kitchen, at the kitchen table, sipping cold coffee at this point, staring at my banking app telling me that my deposit is still pending for days, like it's 1995 or something. And I'm grumbling to myself, thinking that there's got to be a better way. And that's when I recall a late night chat with a buddy of mine who goes by 𝗗𝗏, the kind of crypto nerd just like me. Now, he's always ranting about how every few generations the whole system flips on its head. He mentioned this theory, the fourth turning, where about every 80 years society goes through a huge upheaval and new systems replace the old. Now, at the time I rolled my eyes like, sure dude, whatever, but now I'm sitting here annoyed at my bank, and his words are just buzzing around in my head. So I grab my laptop and I start digging, and boom, I hit on this headline. Mastercard partners up with Chainlink to enable 3 billion cardholders to buy crypto. I was like, wait, what? Mastercard, as in the credit card in my wallet, quietly did a crypto thing? And Chainlink, I've heard of Chainlink. I've got a few Link tokens stashed away myself, not gonna lie. But I thought it was just another altcoin. So why is Mastercard teaming up with them? You know, and with Chainlink of all people. My curiosity, of course, is officially piqued. And I keep on digging, and boom, there it is. Mastercard and Chainlink basically built a bridge between the traditional payments world and on-chain crypto. They made it so that you could use your everyday credit card to buy crypto directly on a decentralized exchange, and you wouldn't even notice that Chainlink is working its magic in the background. Kind of like how you would flip a light switch and electricity just flows. You don't think about the power grid. Now here, Chainlink is the unseen power grid for moving money in a whole new way. And it turns out that they roped in a bunch of other tech players to make it happen. One processes the card payment, another converts your dollars to crypto, and platforms like Uniswap do the swap on the blockchain. But tying all of those steps together is Chainlink's special little sauce, something called CCIP, or Cross-Chain Interoperability Protocol. It's a fancy term, I know. Now basically, CCIP is like a universal translator for blockchains and old-school systems. Picture a UN meeting where we're with everyone speaking different languages. Chainlink's CCIP is the expert translator that makes sure that Ethereum, Solana, your bank, or whoever else that you're dealing with all understand each other and play nice. Now, CCIP doesn't just connect for fun. It adds some really important reliability tricks. Now, my buddy 𝗗𝗏 explained it to me like this, right? They've got this thing called smart execution. It's kind of like booking a plane ticket at a fixed price. Chainlink locks in the gas fees so that your transaction doesn't go crazy if the network gets busy. And I love that analogy a little bit, right? Imagine knowing your exact travel costs no matter the traffic. That's kind of what smart execution does for sending money or data across different chains. No surprise fees mid-flight. So now I'm sitting here thinking, hold up. If Mastercard trusts Chainlink to do this, what else is Chainlink really up to? Because Mastercard doesn't just hop on any trend. If they're in, something must be solid. And this is where things get really interesting. Now, I dig past all of the headlines and I find that Chainlink is like the quiet overachiever in the back of class, doing everyone else's homework. Now, take decentralized finance, DeFi, which is kind of like the parallel world of banking, but on blockchain. And it turns out that Chainlink is the big reason that DeFi even works. Let me explain. right? In DeFi, apps like Aave, for lending, or Synthetix for trading, they need real-world data, like prices for coins, interest rates, and stuff that's not natively on the blockchain. So how do they get it? Chainlink, through something called data feeds, aka oracles. Now, I always thought that oracle was something from the Matrix or the ancient myths, but in crypto it actually means a trusted data pipeline. Now, Chainlink's oracles, they take real-world information and feed it into the blockchain in a way that everyone agrees on. It's kind of like weather services, right? For crypto markets, everyone's looking at the same thermometer for at least to price their assets, right? Now, because Chainlink's data feeds, they make sure that Aave knows the price of Ethereum and Synthetix knows the price of Bitcoin, and you name it, right? If that data were to be wrong or tampered with, oh boy, things could get broken fast. But Chainlink's built-in reputation for being super reliable. And get this, even Tron's stablecoin, those coins that are supposed to always be worth $1, even that stablecoin is using Chainlink's network of data feeds to prove that it's actually backed by real assets. That's a pretty big deal because we've seen stablecoins implode when people lose trust. And then there's this newcomer, Mantle Network, an Ethereum Layer 2 project, which straight up integrated Chainlink services from day one. They basically said, yep, we're new, but we're going to go with gold standard for our oracles and data needs. By now, I'm thinking, geez, Chainlink is everywhere, but quietly. Like, you don't see its name flashing up in neon, right? But it's powering stuff behind the curtains. And every time someone uses it, let's say Aave pulls a price or a stablecoin verifies its reserves with Chainlink, there's a little transaction that pays Chainlink node operators in Link tokens. It's as if every time people check the weather, a little bit of rainfall into Chainlink's bucket. Not a kind of torrential downpour, but a steady drizzle adding up. So here I am, starting to feel like I just discovered the financial internet's secret backbone. And as a guy who owns some Link tokens, I won't lie, I start feeling a little fluttered of at least that flutter of excitement, right? Like, is this thing undervalued or what? Why is nobody else screaming about this from the rooftops? I mean, Chainlink's price today is still less than half of what it was at the all-time high back in 2021. It's kind of hovering at maybe like 50% off and kind of, or more below that kind of $52 peak that it hit years ago. It's not flying to the moon right now, that's for sure. Meanwhile, of course, it's quietly signing deals with Mastercard and literally powering the backbone of decentralized finance. It's as if we were 1995 and it's like I just found out that the entire internet runs on one company's tech and Wall Street hasn't even caught on yet. My brain is just doing somersaults. But you know what? This is exactly when I need to check myself. I can practically hear future me yelling, calm the hell down. So let me kind of pause here for a second and lay down a crucial reality check. And this one might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor. And nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your own responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video today is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, we good there? Good. I had to get that out of the air, out of the way I should say, because when I get excited I need to put that disclaimer in to make sure that we all at least keep ourselves grounded. Now, let's get back into it, right? Because our story, it is not over. And at this point, I am convinced that Chainlink is kind of a big deal. But I also remember that no technology, no matter how cool, just flips the world overnight, right? Legacy finance, the banks, the payment processors, the stock exchanges, all those old guard institutions, they've got deep roots and they won't go quietly into a good night. Now, they're more likely to slowly adopt or even co-opt with new tech rather than just roll over immediately. And honestly, Chainlink isn't about killing banks directly. It's about, or at least more about, making itself indispensable to them. It's kind of like having banks that might not even realize that they're leaning on Chainlink, right? Just like we don't actually realize or think about, the TCP/IP whenever we send an email. Now, speaking of banks not realizing things, let me kind of tell you another tidbit that I found in my rabbit hole adventure. Remember Swift, right? That network that banks use for international transfers, the one that's given me plenty of headaches waiting for money from abroad. Well, Swift had its big moment decades ago, standardizing how banks talk to each other. Now, my friend Arka put it this way, and it really did stick. Right? Every time finance changes, there's one technology that nobody can ignore. Now, Swift had its moment, and now it's Chainlink's turn. Now, that quote gave me chills, right? Swift was like the hero of the previous financial era. Chainlink might be lining up to be the hero of this one. And guess what? Chainlink has actually been working with Swift too. I found out that they did some trials connecting different bank systems using CCIP as the bridge. Now that blew my mind even more. It's kind of like the old hero teaming up with the new kid on the block, Chain, pun intended of course, to see what they can actually do together. A crossover episode that maybe I never expected. Now, beyond these two big kind of headline partnerships, I looked into what else Chainlink is doing that could actually reshape things. One word, acronym, RWA. Now this stands for real world assets, basically turning things like stocks, real estate, maybe even your house into tokens on a blockchain. Now there are predictions that by 2030, tokenized real world assets could be worth anywhere between $2 trillion and a whopping $16 trillion. Now, even if reality ends up somewhere in the middle, that's trillions of dollars potentially coming on chain. But here is the catch. If a token that says I own, let's say, 1/100th of a rental property, how do I know that that property actually exists and isn't, a kind of shack in the woods or a double pledged to someone else? How do I trust that the token is actually truly backed by the real thing? Enter proof of reserve, another trick up Chainlink's sleeve. Now think of proof of reserve, POR, as the automated auditor that checks if the stuff's backing a token is actually really there. It's kind of like having a robot accountant, right, who can peer into the vaults and the bank accounts at all hours. Now, for example, a stablecoin can use POR to show that there's real dollars in a bank account for every dollar that's on the blockchain. Or if someone tokenizes 100 ounces of gold, POR could continuously verify that 100 ounces are sitting in the vault, not mysteriously missing, right? And guess who provides a lot of these verification services? Yeah, Chainlink, right? Protocols actually pay in link tokens to get those POR updates, because if you're running a serious project dealing with real world assets, you really want people to trust, and having Chainlink basically vouch for you is a good way to do it. Now, another really cool thing that I discovered is that Chainlink has this feature that's called Chainlink Runtime Environment. CRE. It sounds super techy, I know, but the exciting part is that it actually enables what's called delivery versus payment, DVP, on the blockchain. Now, DVP is a concept from traditional finance, meaning that when you buy something, the payment and the asset swap happens at the same time. There's no chance that one side can bail without paying or delivering. So in practice, imagine trading a tokenized bond for some stablecoins. DVP would actually ensure that the bond and the money exchange hands and one atomic transaction, maybe even across different networks. No settlement risk. Chainlink's tech is looking to power that kind of trustworthy swaps across blockchains. So, in the future, if someone from Wall Street's firm or a Wall Street firm is trading a tokenized stock for digital cash on a Monday morning, Chainlink could be the one quietly making sure that the trade is airtight and instant. So by now, my mental image that I have is this: legacy finance, all the banks, the clearing houses, old school infrastructure is kind of like an aging skyscraper with cracks in its foundation. It's not collapsing today, but you can tell that it's past its prime. And next to it, people are constructing a brand new skyscraper floor by floor. That's DeFi and all this new blockchain infrastructure. Here is the kicker. The new building is slowly wiring into the old one, like sneaking in new plumbing and wiring while the old tenants keep living in their own lives, right? Now, one day, the old skyscraper might just end up running on the new one's infrastructure without even realizing it. And eventually those tenants may move or will move over entirely because everything just works better next door. Now, before I get too carried away, let me also level with you. I am bullish on Chainlink after all of this research, right? I absolutely am, right? It's hard not to be optimistic when you see a technology, systematically kind of chipping away at so many pain points, right? Making blockchains talk to each other and to the old systems, giving smart contracts access to real world data, ensuring tokenized assets are legitimate. It's directly addressing trust, the very thing that had me so frustrated with my bank in the first place. But being bullish doesn't necessarily mean being naive, right? The banks and the big institutions aren't just going to evaporate overnight. They're likely to adopt these innovations quietly, maybe not even telling us. Kind of like how in the early days of the internet, companies still used fax machines behind the scenes, even as they kind of launched websites, right? Change happens, but it's a bit sneaky sometimes. Now, Chainlink's journey isn't guaranteed to be all sunshine and roses either. There are projects or other projects trying to do the same of what Chainlink has done, right? Not quite as successfully yet, but competition is out there. And sometimes a technology that's clearly superior can take forever to actually get widespread recognition. I mean, the guy who literally invented the World Wide Web, Tim, Berners-Lee, isn't exactly a household name, right? Like, even though we use his invention every single day, right? Chainlink might remain this kind of unsung hero for quite a while, and that could mean this token price doesn't skyrocket just because we think that it should. Markets have a weird way of humbling us. Also, there's a lot of what Chainlink is enabling might actually roll out without a fanfare, right? Your grandparents might be using it via their banking apps to settle a trade, or your cousin via a gaming app to trade some in-game assets, and they'd have absolutely no clue. And that's perfectly fine. In fact, that's the kind of goal of good infrastructure, right? It's boringly reliable. So you can hear about it when something breaks, sure. So far, Chainlink hasn't had any of those headline-grabbing breakdowns like Solana, for example. So it's just quietly doing its job, expanding to more networks, more use cases, day by day becoming the standard that everyone uses because it works. So as I kind of wrap up this impromptu kind of deep dive, my coffee cup long empty by now, I feel something surprising, right? A sense of hope about finance. And yeah, I know that sounds corny, but really, I'm actually quite hopeful that maybe I won't have to deal with the 5-day bank transfers forever. Maybe in a few years, sending money will be like sending an email. Quick, simple, and I won't need to trust some opaque institution because I can trust the open source code and math underneath it. It's a pretty awesome thought, then that we might actually be living through one of these big historical shifts. Remember, right, that fourth turning concept? If people like Arca are right, we're deep in it. The old systems that are built on trust us, we're the bank, are gradually being replaced by systems that say, don't trust, verify, and here's the math to prove it. And Chainlink is just smack back in the middle of that transition, right? It's kind of a keystone holding up this new bridge between the old world and the new. Now, I should also mention, if you're interested or intrigued by all of this stuff, as I am anyway, that you don't have to go down the rabbit hole alone. I hang out in a free educational Discord server with a bunch of other crypto curious people. The link, of course, is in the description. It's basically where we swap ideas, the news, and help each other understand the crazy developments like this without all of the noise that you get on Twitter, right? You're invited, it's totally free. You can come and by and say hi, and let's kind of talk about this wild world of ours. Also, fun fact, remember how Mastercard teamed up with Kraken for crypto debit cards? Well, Kraken Pro just happens to be my go-to exchange that I use for a lot of my crypto trading, including my kind of escapades with Link. So I've been using Kraken Pro for a while now. It's pretty solid, right? Here's full disclosure though. If you use Kraken Pro link that's in the description down below and sign up and trade on it, you should know that that is an affiliate link that supports the channel here. So you'll be helping me keep the lights on here at no extra cost to yourself. Just kind of putting that out there to be totally transparent. So here I am, one annoyingly bank transfer and, one internet rabbit hole later, feeling like I kind of got a glimpse into the future, right? And it's not some flashy sci-fi future either where banks explode and we all live in a crypto utopia. It's just more nuanced, right? A future where the old and the new kind of just blend together, where something like Chainlink quietly makes our financial lives just that little bit easier, a little bit faster and more transparent, even if most people never even know that it's even there. But you'll know, right? And maybe you'll smile to yourself when you hear about some bank using blockchain or some new tokenized asset platform, knowing that behind the scenes, a project named Chainlink is likely making it tick. In a weird way, this whole experience kind of felt like a little adventure. I started out just frustrated with a slow bank transfer and ended up pretty excited about what might be coming next. Not a bad way to kind of turn a bad day around, right? Now, I'm really curious what you guys think. Is Chainlink going to be the unsung hero that quietly kind of remakes finance? Are we really living through one of those big turning points in history? Or have I just had way too much caffeine and too much crypto Kool-Aid? Now you can let me know your thoughts. And seriously, right? Jump into the comments or the Discord and share. I'd like to get everyone's kind of perspective on this. And if you've enjoyed coming along with this little journey with me, you can do me a favor. You can hit that like button and subscribe button so you don't miss what's happening next. And I'll catch you all in the next one.